I love this shirt. I bought it from a pirate down in New Orleans, which seems a bit peculiar if you know what I mean, but it turns out that pirate ships were not only defenders of free speech and the liberation of just about anything else they could get their hands on. Crew members advanced by popular vote, and spoils were shared quite evenly. The pirate told me he bought this from a witch who ran a brothel in Haiti, who blessed it with charms of good fortune and the goodwill of men, as long as the owner remained true and devoted to the practice of free speech. If the owner strayed, burned books, censored the barge, or mistreated and silenced the masses, the shirt would just hang wrinkled and lifeless upon them like an old cut-off T-shirt. The elderly boutonniere began to shuffle his feet and avert his eyes. You see, lad, when I first got this shirt, I could feel its energy, very uplifting. But as I went about my business, fabricating outrageous sea stories, lying and cheating on wheels of fortune, and fleecing gullible tourists, the garment lost its shine, and good fortune had just hung sadly on my shoulders. But you seem like a righteous lad. Help folks along. I seen you around here. Maybe you can wake it up and put some of that goodwill to good works. Now I know a pirate's tale of witchery and magic shirts have no real history and truth. But he was letting it go for 2 bottles of rot gut rum, which is the going rate for a decorated T-shirt in New Orleans. So to me, it'll always be a full-blown tribute to free speech. Like a flag, you know. It has no material value to speak of. It's a symbol. I struggle to remain a clear thinker and a skeptic. And if there was a good old days, I didn't see it. I don't remember any nostalgia. I learned to base my political alliances on issues, not relationships. And definitely not on loyalty. Loyalty is for suckers. Nothing burns hotter and darker than loyalty. I'm trying to find out why the charms of good fortune and the goodwill of men translates into the power of the dark side. Makes something more usable. I'm a realist. And just in case there is a force on the dark side. The truth and a lie are the same thing in the present propaganda scope. Suddenly all the merchants of Zion, disguised in bipartisan robes, hissing their timeless inverted tales from the crypt. There is no genocide. The universities of America birth demon spawn, the enemies of peace, who spread the disease of anti-Semitism, endangering the chosen of Israel and the righteous allies of civilized world. Believe not your lying eyes and deafened ears. This is hardly the first time American Jews with no love for Israel are targeted by the chosen ones, Holy Land Incorporated, in cooperation with Christians in names only Zionists serving stateside treachery in Congress, the White House, our corporate merchants of death, their media whores, and the diversified portfolio of properties owned by Zionist enterprises. Young Americans are not a threat to American Jews, especially not the Jewish American ones, the majority of whom either oppose the U.S. alliance with Israel or don't give a shit one way or the other about their precious right to exist, which is something I learned from listening to secular American Jews for decades on independent radio, where they've been warning us against being sucked down into the bottomless death gorge of Zionist hell, where we can all burn together. Our elected officials are accepting big fat paychecks from the lobby to read press releases word for word in the Congress and on the air, attacking American Jews and student protesters for being anti-Semitic. Another service provided by high and mid-level public servants for big fat checks from advocates of a foreign government is the promise to violently punish peace activists and university students, our children, by kicking the shit out of them on the streets, then dumping them off in emergency rooms, all the while the very same recipients who profit from the stomping, tasing, and macing of American teens are busy redefining freedom of speech in the First Amendment for our Bill of Rights in our very own Constitution. Now, it can't be repealed, but redefining inalienable rights is a specialty of contemporary judiciary hacks. They can redefine redefinition, then twist a sharpened gavel handle into the heart of free speech and drain enough blood to leave us with free speech light, exempting discussion critical of local or government attacks on students, critical of U.S.-Israel joint war crimes, mutual ass-kissing, intercede threats and bickering, promises or love letter shall be deemed anti-Semitic speechery. How any of this crap could actually be enforced seems unlikely, even under our present state of experimental fascism. But our political commissars and their sycophantic judiciary quislings can answer that question in just two simple words: Julian and Assange.
Hey guys, it's me, Bruce, not Scooter, sorry. I have a Julian Assange update. He's free to fly back home to Australia. And we've just heard that a welcome home banquet committee is being arranged at the airport by a squad of Navy SEALs who were there on leave in Sydney.
Now, I'm younger than I look and older than I feel. I participated in numerous marches, rallies, peaceful protests, civil disobedience, and spent maybe 100 hours on a 100,000-watt radio station interviewing veterans and authors describing the real costs of war, the protracted genocide and mistreatment of the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere by European invaders armed with smallpox, spoke with atheists about endless clashes of religious crusades, pogroms, inquisitions, genocide, American wars on its own population during the civil rights struggle. I've been watching this empire decline over a lifetime. Between the Clintons dumping the working class, labor unions, and trading in the new left for the old money, Citizens United throwing the doors open for legal bribery, so blatant no liberal democracy would tolerate or authoritarian dictatorship risk it. Representatives don't represent anyone but themselves and their donors. The industrial base went offshore to duck environmental regulation and exploit cheap labor. Endless war is the current strategy to keep the economy afloat, but we have 22 war veterans a day committing suicide. And of all the rotten, low-down, dirty tricks the U.S. has shamelessly committed, this okey-doke we pulled on Ukraine to exploit their population for use as bullet sponges in a hopeless battle of attrition they won't recover from this century is the worst. And for an encore, we decided to sponsor a genocide for our Israeli FFs. That'll show the world we really care. Battles come and go, but genocide is forever. The chances that the U.S. is going to pull out of the failed American tailspin and rebuild a society from the smoking debris on the Hill is about as likely as the second coming of Christ with a Tommy gun mowing the lawns of unrepentant Zionists. Optimists insist that the U.S. can rebuild a shining mountain on the hill in Israel, which will fulfill prophecies we never dreamed of, and everyone will love us again. But love, like power, is never given away by the hegemonious. It has to be taken by some brilliant manipulation of reality waves that never happened, or force. It's crystal clear that Washington has no desire for antiquated majority rule nostalgia. The government rules with absolute impunity. It severed its ties to the people a good while back. It was a private affair. We weren't invited. The ruling class and its donors have absolutely no fear of its population. A very unusual situation you don't see very often, especially where access to weaponry is unregulated. The financial class has skimmed enough wealth from the population they could build 2 Americas and have enough change left over to buy South America. Now, I'd love to join you. You know, never forget, it's the journey, not the destination. And this has all been wonderful, but now I'm on my way. So good luck.
Waiting for the time when I can finally see this is all been wonderful. but now I'm on my way. When I think it's time to leave it all behind, I try to find a way to, but there's nothing I can say to make it stop. Down with disease, 3 weeks in my bed, trying to stop these demons that keep dancing in my head. Down with disease, and I'm up before the dawn. 1,000 barefoot children outside, dancing on my lawn. Dancing on my lawn.
Foreign right enhancement teams, vigorously trained in occupied Middle Eastern kindergarten grappling arenas, have been invited by elected officials to join the campus festivities here in Los Angeles. Terrifying civilians and brutalizing college students, already outnumbered by the religiously disturbed and well-dressed ethnic street gangs who have drawn first blood in this epic struggle. The United States and California versus their own children. But the paramilitary riot squad has been hesitant. We spoke with them earlier.
All we have is fortified tear gas, cattle prods, and battle armor to protect us. They let us keep our shotguns, but beanbags, rubber bullets, they said we would be neutralizing school kids. But look at the size of them. They're almost full grown. This is dangerous. I've ordered my men to disengage. Full retreat. I cannot afford to sacrifice elite special troops on foreign soil. You see this patch? What does it say? You see this?
You guys are Russians?
No, that's Hebrew.
The coffee?
No, I translate. It says Special Forces. Preschool. Preschool. You have insurrection at preschool. You call me. We take care of you. No more kids throwing rocks. You just make them disappear like magic. Trust me. Guaranteed. Here's my card.
I wouldn't trust that mother.
Hey, your mic's hot. The microphone?
Oh. As predicted, anti-Semitism is rampant on campus this day. Many of the protesters and the majority of the organizers are American Jews. The primary targets for harassment from the lobby, well-dressed Christian evangelical ethnic street gangs, and paramilitary defense squads that employ the best defense is a strong offense under the guise of protecting the Jewish population from anti-Semitic mobs and violence, like what we've been witnessing here all day. American Jews have long been the real heroes, committed to exposing the American government's most favored ally for who they really are, and what the vast majority of the planet thinks of them, and increasingly how the rest of the world sees America. Their battle cry for peace is not in our name, for the crime of protesting an ongoing genocidal slaughter and torture and starvation not seen since World War II. Powerful forces who claim to protect the Jewish people turn on these Americans with a malignant fury, backed by the domestic might and corrupted degeneracy of United States institutions that fade in the shadows of what they used to be, now groveling under the darkness where a pluribus unum decays into, you're on your own, but watch your step. We got eyes on you, kid. Welcome to the machine.
Back Israel's apartheid government, and we will continue to push back and not accept this idea that you are progressive except for Palestine any longer.
for saying that she was smeared, called an anti-Semite, accused of making anti-Semitic remarks by members of Congress, also by Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, or the ADL. He falsely accused her of creating a litmus test for American Jews. She never said anything about American Jews. She was just talking about what it means to be a progressive. In response,
Down with disease and the jungles in my mind. They're climbing up my waterfalls and swinging up my vines. So I try to hear the music, but I'm always losing time. 'Cause they're stepping on my rhythm and they're stealing all my lines. Stealing all my lines. And I keep waiting for the time when I can finally see that this has all been wonderful. But now I'm on my way. When I think it's time to leave it all behind, I try to find a way to, but there's nothing I can say to make it stop.
Failure of this magnitude is extremely improbable.
I don't buy it. Try the switch here.
What the hell is going on with our equipment?
It wasn't meant it in the first place.